Well, hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Space Cowboy here with another video for you guys here today with another Cowboys victory to cover as the Cowboys shut down the Eagles on Sunday Night Football to move to 10-3 and now have tied the Philadelphia Eagles for the division lead in the NFC East. This was a huge victory for the Cowboys as they are set to go out on the road for their next two games against Buffalo and Miami. And at this point, the Cowboys just have to continue doing what they're doing, and you got to hope that Philly drops one more game. Now, for those that saw at the end of the game, they showed the graphic of the Cowboys leading the NFC East and the Eagles moving down to the 5 seed. That is true for now. So, the Cowboys are leading the NFC East due to the division record tiebreaker, which they're 4-1 with 1 game to go in the division to play, and the Eagles are 3-1 with 2 games left to play, both versus New York. So, if the Cowboys want to win the NFC East, the Eagles have to drop at least one more game, and then the Cowboys would have to win out, basically. So we just have to continue handling business. We have some tough games ahead of us, but if the Cowboys can continue to play well, then this shouldn't be an issue. It's really more so now Philly's job to win out, and they do have an easier schedule than we do, but we will see how things progress in the remaining 4 games. So I wanted to go over the stats and then just talk about the game as a whole. So Dak Prescott, he was 24 for 39, 2 touchdowns, 271 yards. He was sacked 3 times, even though really the last sack of the game was kind of just a whatever sack to keep the clock moving, and he had a passer rating of 99.4. You go over to Jalen Hurts, 18 of 27, 197 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack, and he had a passer rating of 88. And then, of course, you have the punter for them that had the fake punt for 28 yards. In the running game, you had Tony Pollard, 16 carries for 59 yards, and right behind him, Rico Dowdle, 12 carries for 49 yards. And then you had for the Eagles, DeAndre Swift, 11 carries for 39 yards, Jalen Hurts, 5 for 30, and then Kenneth Gainwell, 4 for 28. You go to the receiving game, and you had A.J. Brown lead the game with receptions and yards. No touchdowns at 9 receptions, 94 yards. And then Devontae Smith right behind him with 5 receptions and 73 yards. Then you go to the receiving game for the Cowboys. Jake Ferguson led the way by 1 yard and 5 receptions with 72 yards compared to CeeDee Lamb's 71 yards and 6 receptions. Sorry if that sounded weird coming out of my mouth. But Jake Ferguson, man, he had the big catch that really kept momentum in Dallas's hands, and they didn't look back after that. And he had the great leap over, I think it was Kelly Ringo. So that was fun. And the key thing where the Cowboys, I believe, won the game was the turnovers. The Eagles fumbled the ball 3 times, and the Cowboys recovered all 3 of them. Jalen Hurts fumbled, A.J. Brown fumbled, Devontae Smith fumbled, and they were all recovered by the Cowboys. You did have Jalen Carter return the touchdown from the fumble because Dak Prescott got sacked. And, you know, that was really their biggest highlight of the game. If it wasn't for that, you look at this game and they only scored 6 points. And, I mean, it's funny because the kicker scored more points than the Eagles did, but I digress. You know, you talk about how you had Shaquille Leonard over on the other side. He only had really 1 tackle, and he didn't really look impressive. Granted, you know, hey, it's the first game, but whatever. But it's kind of weird saying how he thought we were soft on defense, but it is what it is. Micah Parsons had the lone sack on Jalen Hurts. And then Brandon Aubrey, man, perfect. 4 for 4, 3 for 3 on extra points. And he had a 60-yarder, a 59-yarder, and, you know, I mean, what more is there to ask? This dude is making 60-yard field goals with like 10 or 15 yards to spare. Like, it's like it feels as if he was asked to kick a 70-yard field goal, he can do it. But good on him. And we only had to punt 1 time this entire game, which is crazy to say the least. So there's that. Those are your stats of the game. So I guess where we're at right now is how am I feeling about this Cowboys team and what do I need to see moving forward? So the first thing is that they didn't play the cleanest game offensively at home, but they still put up enough points to win the game. And that's the thing for me, is that we understood what was at stake at this game is to keep up good momentum as we go out on the road for these next 2 games versus Buffalo and Miami. as for Philly, you put the pressure back on them. And we talked about it, and I mentioned this in Twitter Spaces and in the last video. Philly needs to win this game to avoid them running into a situation where now they got to play out the remainder of their schedule, which now they do. So I look at, you know, they have San Francisco now as the #1 seed, of course, with how things have transpired. And now you're Philadelphia, and you're on the outside looking in for those top seeds. And now they have to take care of business. For Dallas, I've preached this all season long. You win, the entire schedule will take care of itself. I believe now the magic number is 11, so we need one more win and the Cowboys will clinch a playoff spot. I believe with certain tiebreakers. I could be wrong. So that's something we'll keep an eye out moving forward. So we play the Buffalo Bills next week in Buffalo. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that that's going to be a tough game to say the least. I don't recall. I believe the last time we played in Buffalo was in 2015 when Kellen Moore was the quarterback. So should be a fun little game there. And I don't really have much more to say other than how about them Cowboys. And if we want to talk about Dak Prescott, it's between him and Brock Purdy now for the MVP. And he'll have a ton of games down the stretch to not only get the stats, but if the Cowboys win out or have the same record, I mean, it's going to be tough to see Purdy win it because they're still giving the like to Christian McCaffrey, you know what I mean? They're like, you know, he's part of it too. So it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and enjoy this win for today and then move on to the next week. And so tell me, guys, how you thought about the game. I enjoyed it thoroughly, of course. But with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. And go Cowboys.